KXUA.
Martin Fiero, ladies
Martin
and gentlemen.
Fiero.
Step out here and say hello. Martin.
That's right. As the Grateful Dead just introduced to you, that was Martin Fiero sitting in on the saxophone on that 1973 Weather Report suite, and we'd like to welcome Martin Fiero himself.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's always great to come to Fayetteville. This is almost like my second home,
Really?
Oh yeah, I have so many different friends, and Harold and I are they're my family, man. Their families are my family, and so yeah, I come home.
How many times have you come to Fayetteville?
I don't know. In the past 12 years, I don't know, man. Forget it. I come at least 2 or 3 times a year, and it's really wonderful. It's always a wonderful experience to be here. I think the university makes this place a very friendly place to be in and to practice your craft in, because there's the influx of young people that's always coming through Fayetteville. Of course, there's the old-timers, too, that have been here forever and ever, So that's wonderful.
And those are good, too. And so you always have come here and played music at venues on Dixon Street?
Yes, that's right. Except for Windfest.
That's right. Originally, a lot of the shows you played here were at Chester's Place.
That's right.
Is that one of your favorite venues?
Just coming to Fayetteville is wonderful. It's always a pleasure to be here. You can never tell about the weather, but it's always great.
Well, it's hot this summer, but it's getting to be a nice sunset tonight, and you guys are playing a show tonight at George's Majestic Lounge.
That's right. It's hot in San Francisco right now, though. I mean, it's incredibly hot. We've had a run of hot weather for the past 3 weeks, and usually it's not really that hot, so it's been unusual, to say the very least.
There's been a bit of a heat wave around the country. So, did you fly in from San Francisco?
Yes.
And is that where you still make your home?
Oh, yeah. Marin County. It's just north of San Francisco. Just across the Golden Gate Bridge, So you got to cross that old bridge every time, But it's beautiful. The Bay Area is just gorgeous, man. It's just a wonderful place to be in and play music. People come from all over the country there, and I remember in 1968 when I got there. Originally, I came out there to play with a band called Mother Earth, Tracy Nelson and Mother Earth. But when I got there, they were on hiatus. They had a month off. And so I was going nuts. I lived in Haight-Ashbury, and I wanted to play so bad, so I went to Golden Gate Park, just a couple of blocks down the street from the place where I was staying, and I was sitting in with the conga players. They usually had about 30 or 40 conga players just playing like crazy there in the park, And so I brought my horn out, and I was playing there with him. When this guy approached me, and he come over and he said, "Hey, what's your name?" It's Martin. Hey, where are you from? I said, "I'm from El Paso, Texas." I said, "Would you leave me alone? I'm trying to play right now." He says, "Well, I just want to find out if you're available for a gig tonight." And I said, "Sure, I have nothing to do." He says, "Okay, well, here's the address. It's on Lower Fillmore Street, and I got a bunch of guys that we're playing tonight, and it'll be fun. And I really like the way you play." I said, "Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. As a stranger from nowhere giving me a gig and telling me you like the way I played, So I said, "Well, what's your name?" He said, "Oh, my name is Jerry Garcia." And I said, "Okay, cool." I had no idea who he was, right? So I got to the gig that night, and Bill Vidd was playing drums. Some of the original members of Legion of Mary. Bill Vidd was playing drums, and John Kahn was playing bass, and Howard Wales, organ keyboard. And I knew Howard from Texas. So Howard says to me, he says, "Martin, what are you doing here?" I said, well, this hippie guy invited me over to come and play with you guys. Who is this guy anyway? And Howard says, "Don't you know who that is? This is Jerry Garcia." I said, "Yeah, I know. He told me that was his name, but what's with him?" He says, "Oh, man, you don't know who you're playing with?" I said, "No, I have no idea." He said, "Well, you just wait, And it became like a little joke around us that I didn't know who Jerry was. Of course, he didn't know who I was either, so we were even. But he put me on the world map. I have so much to thank Jerry for because of his kindness and his love, not only of music but of people. He was so kind and so wonderful. I mean, to give a nobody guy like me a chance to become someone in the Bay Area music scene at that time was very, very kind of him, and that's something that I will always be thankful to him for. And I'm very happy that we made that acquaintance that particular time. But there was another person who came and invited me to go play across the street at his little apartment house across the street from Golden Gate Park. And he was a black guy, black young guy. And see, I had been in Mexico City for 4 years before I came to San Francisco, so I had no idea who anybody was or what anything was or any particular nothing. I was like a brand new guy from like another planet. So this guy invited me to come play at his apartment, and we played, and we were on first name basis. My name was Martin, and his name was Jim. And he played guitar like this, upside down, and he turned out to be Jimi Hendrix. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that until after we didn't play anymore that I found out who Jim was, and it was Jimmy. Later on, when I found out who he was, I was just flabbergasted, because we had played music together and we had a wonderful time too. It was really great. So that was fun. In San Francisco at that time, you didn't know who you were gonna meet or who you would meet or who you would play with or anything. You just played. We played music. We played a lot of music together and with a lot of different situations and then all the Texas people started coming out to San Francisco. Janis was already there, and Boss Skaggs was already there, and Steve Miller was already there, and then this young man from Dallas came out. His name was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he was actually going to stay in the Bay Area. And he was an incredible player, really great, really. Me being from Texas too, we kind of formed an association, all the Texas players. Because see, when we got to San Francisco, we were already playing professionals. Because you don't come out of Texas playing music unless you can really, really play, And so, like, all the Texas players in San Francisco, we were very well versed in our instruments, and there was no question about it. We had already been playing professionally for many years, while some of the San Francisco guys were just learning how to play their instruments, And so that was really far out. And then the Chicago people started filtering in. Michael Bloomfield and all the Chicago guys started coming in there, man. And it was so much fun, man. Like they were new in town too. Nobody knew who the hell they were, but pretty soon we all find out who each of us was. And that was very, very gratifying for the San Francisco players, because the San Francisco players, man, like Quicksilver Messenger Service and the Grateful Dead and the Airplane and all those guys had acquired quite a bit of little attitudes about themselves because they were the first guys. Of course, Country Joined the Fish, and they had all been around already doing, strutting their stuff there, and they were well known already around the country and so forth, And some of the other guys, some of the new guys that got there, like me and the Chicago Bunch and all those people, we were just brand new there, But it was still cool. It was still wonderful. But we weren't accepted very well by the rest of the California community. So what we did is we formed a union of Texas people. We called it Texas Away from Texas. And so we started having these big parties in Marin County. And it was nothing but Texas players. And you'd have Janis, and you had Boss Skaggs and Steve Miller and his band and Mother Earth. All the people in Mother Earth's bands were Texans. So before you knew it, like we're having these killer parties in Marin County, all the Texans. And some of the San Francisco guys started saying, "Hey, can I come to your party? No, you're not from Texas. You can't come. Oh. So that was kind of cool. You know, we kind of separated them from Artie, even though it wasn't our scene. We made it our scene, you know, and that was cool. But then when I started playing with Jerry, of course, that whole thing changed, you know, because he was a San Francisco guy. And he was allowed at our parties anytime he wanted to come. One guy that wanted to come, that was never given the opportunity to come, even though he begged me to let him, to invite him, because you can only come by invitation only, was Carlos Santana. And he says, please, man, would you please bring me to the party? I said, I can't bring you, you know. Please, man, just tell him I'm from Texas. But you're not from Texas, man. Oh, my gosh, you know. Talk about craziness, you know. But then it all changed. Everything changed. There was the 60s and 70s in San Francisco. It was just totally outrageous, you know. But it was fun. And then, of course, when I did those the tour with the Dead, I was actually touring with Sir Douglas Quintet, and Sir Douglas, we had a trumpet and a tenor sax, me playing saxophone, and we were opening for the Grateful Dead on the road, and so Jerry comes up to me and says, "Hey man, you want to start playing with us?" I said, "Sure." So okay, so you got to start rehearsing with us, and we had some grueling rehearsals. We rehearsed like 6-7 hours every day, because the Dead were very, very much rehearsal prone. You know, they would always be rehearsing. They would always be sharpening their knife. You know, honing their skills and all that kind of stuff. You know, as a matter of fact, the thing that is funny is that when we did Wake of the Flood, Jerry calls me up one day. And he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing. You think you could be in the studio in about 45 minutes? Why? What's going on?" I said, "We're doing an album, and I want you to play in it. And bring a trumpet player too." I said, "All right." So the trumpet player lived underneath my apartment, in an apartment below me. So I brought Kenny with me, and we went and did this recording session with the Dead at the record plant in Sausalito. And we put the whole thing together in like 2 hours. We just went in there. We just knocked it out. I just learned the song, and then just we did it. It was so cool. You know, Jerry was like that. He would make you feel really, really at ease about anything. You know, because he was a great musician, man. You know, he was a great musician, but more importantly, he was a great person. That was the really important part about Jerry. You know, that he was a very inspiring person, and he was very well versed. Because he read so much. He was like a big bookworm, man. He was totally, you know, he was a great reader of things, you know, and I was into a book called the Urantia Book. It's a book about the formation of the universe, and, you know, and so, like, I turned him on to that, and then he got his own book, and then he really liked it, you know. It's a really cool book, you know. Metaphysical stuff, you know, and it was really cool. So we had that to relate on. You know. And then of course Merle was in the mix, you know, and that was fun, you know. And of course Merle and Jerry were playing a lot together, and sometimes I would play with him, and sometimes I didn't, you know. And then finally Merle said to me, "Hey man, do you want to play with us?" I said, "Of course I want to play with you guys." It's okay. Well, you can be in a band. We're gonna do a new band. We're gonna call it Legion of Mary. I said, okay. You know, I didn't question it or anything. You know, but it was a lot of fun, man. You know, and the thing that is hilarious about that one is that we were in Madison, Wisconsin one time, and there's a lake out there, by the Edgewater Inn, you know, where we were staying, and it was the winter time. It was around January. The lake was frozen. So Jerry says, "Hey, you want to take a walk out there in the middle of the lake and we'll burn one?" I said, "Okay." So we walked out there to the middle of the lake. We were out there, you know, and all of a sudden, before we knew it, we see these people signaling us to come back. Come back! Come back! What the hell do they want? I said, "I think they want us to come back, Jerry." "Oh, the hell with them. We're having too much of a good time out here." He said, "Come back." "Why?" sometimes the ice isn't really quite iced over. You could fall into the lake. Jerry says to me, he says, well, if we're going to fall into the lake, I guess we're going to fall into the lake. What do you think? I said, I think we should stay here. Okay. Oh, boy. But don't let me do all the talking. You ask me something. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned at first that Howard Wales was playing in the sort of early lineup of what sort of became Legion of Mary, but obviously it was Merle when it actually formally took on that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about how that started and when you guys went out on the road.
Howard moved out to California before I did, about 6 months before I did. And so he was a great organ player, and somehow he hooked up with those guys, and he started playing with them. He did a couple of records with them. He played with Jerry, and he played
Hooter Roll.
Then we did Hooter Roll together, and I was in that one, of course. That was really cool, man. Again, Jerry called me up one day, and he says, we're in the studio right now doing an album. Get your butt down here, man. I said, really? But I'm busy. He says, I don't give a crap what you're doing. Just get over here. So, okay. So we did Hooter Roll, man. I mean, like, I didn't even know I was going to do that record. I mean, that's the way Jerry operated, you know, like... you think that he would like planned it or figured it, whatever, but it was cool. It was okay. It was really wonderful, so but it was, so they did one of my songs in the album, Southside Strut. That was my song, and of course Howard and everybody else took credit for it, but it was my song anyway. It was the first song that I got stolen by anybody.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. Welcome to the club. But Hooter Roll was a great experience. And we had this guitar player named Curly Cook. And the thing that is really far out that I didn't see Curly for 30 years, and I just got a hold. Somebody sent me his email address, and I emailed him. And he emailed me back, and he was like, totally joyous to the fact that we had gotten a hold of each other again, because Curly is an incredible player. And so I don't know, somehow or other, all the old people that we used to play with Jerry are somehow little by little coming back together, and we're all getting in touch with each other. But the one thing that we know is that we really miss the old guy. He was really a sweetheart. Really, Jerry was he was just, I don't know, it's something about Jerry that it was really, really karmically very sweet. He didn't believe in money. He said he used to believe that people should trade services to each other. That there should be a bartering system where people trade stuff with each other, and so we eliminate money altogether. He had very, very diverse ideas, which were very, very cool about the world and himself and all that, And so that was cool. And of course, Grisman was also in the mix. We did an album with the Rowan Brothers in 1971. That was really great. Jerry and Grisman were producing these kids from Boston, and they were Chris and Lauren Rowan. Of course, their brother is Peter Rowan, incredible writer, performer, all around incredible player and wonderful person too. So it was really cool that I in my early years in the Bay Area, I got to solidify friendship that had lasted a whole lifetime for me. The heavy one in my career. I was telling Harold and Ira today that in May of this year, I passed a heavy milestone in my life. I completed 50 years of playing professionally. Wow. And that's a long time, man. Mm-hmm. I started playing professionally in 1956, and Elvis was just coming on. And, of course, I got to see, because the promoter of the town was my dear friend, I got to see firsthand, hang out with Little Richard and Fats Domino and Ray Charles and all those incredible bands, man. And, Little Willie John, B.B. King. I mean, you name it, man. They all came to town, and I got to hang out with all of them, and just there firsthand, man. As a kid, and for a 15-year-old kid to have those experiences at that age was something that I have never forgotten and never will either, So So that's where I come from. That's where my music comes from being there firsthand, listening to all these incredible players play, music, because even though I came from, well, at first I was a child player. I played classical music, piano, and I was a child performer, and I played classical music throughout northern Mexico and South Texas and all that kind of stuff. When I grew out of that, eventually, when I got to high school, I didn't want to play the piano anymore. I wanted to play something different other than the piano because, I wanted to be in the band. And so they gave me at first they gave me a tuba, and I had to walk around with it, and they gave me a bass drum, and because they needed people to do the formations, and there they gave me a French one. I wasn't really playing it, but I was just marching around holding instruments. And then the band director says, "You're gonna have to learn to play something, otherwise you're out of here." So he gave me a clarinet, he gave me a book, gave me a reed, and I took it home. Hello. Hello? Hi. Jerry Garcia's not here. May I talk to Jerry, please? So anyway, the guy gave me an ultimatum. He says, "You learn to play this clarinet in 2 weeks' time or you're out of here." So I took the clarinet home and I learned how to play it, and that was cool. And then at the end of that school year, he gave me a tenor sax, all beat up piece of crap tenor sax. He says, "Okay, now I want you to play tenor sax next year in the fall when you come back to school. So take this saxophone home with you over the summer and practice it, and maybe you can be in the band next year." So I took the horn home, and I'm walking down downtown El Paso with this horn, and I went across this club called the Knickerbocker Club, and there were these guys were unloading instruments into the club, and so I'm looking at these guys, and I was, wow, there's a band there, And they looked at me and they said, "Hey, you play tenor sax?" I said, "Yeah, I sure do." He said, why don't you come back tonight and sit in with us? Our saxophone player quit last week, and if we like what you do, we can hire you. I said, "Okay." So I haven't even... Hello?
Still not here.
So I came back that night with a horn in hand, and I hadn't even opened the horn yet. I didn't even know whether there was a reed in there, whether there was a strap in there. I didn't know what was in there. So I came back that night, and I played with the guys, and I got the gig, even though I had never played the darn thing. And I got the gig, and we were playing like 6 nights a week. So as a 14-year-old teenager, I was making $300 a week because we were playing 6 nights and 2 afternoons. I was making more money than my father was, and my father had like a heavy Safeway job, cashiering and whatever, trying to take care of his family. My dad only made $150 a week. Here I am, 14-year-old kid making double what he was making. I had to be real quiet about it. My mom says, "You can't tell your dad how much money you're making because it would really insult him." So at my first gig, I started on top. Not on top really, but yeah, sort of on top because when you have a 14-year-old kid making like, $1,200 a month, man, that's like a lot. That's big time money in the 50s. I mean, oh my gosh, man, like that was like that was a lot of fun. So I had to go back when the summer was up. I went back to my high school, and the band director says, "Well, did you learn how to play the saxophone? Do you think you can play it?" I gave it back to him. I said, "No, yours is real bad." He says, "I bought my own." "You bought your own?" I said, "Yeah, I've been working since that night. Since that day that you gave me the thing, I've been playing professionally since that day." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, let me see it." So I showed him my new saxophone. It was just like the one he had, and he was a saxophone player. So that was really cool.
All right, Martin Fiero, will you take some more questions from us?
Well, that the community radio stations are very important for for the people around the area where they're taking place, because they are particularly the voice of the people, the voice to the people. And so, like, that's wonderful that we can all come together and do things together as a group effort with like with you, Daniel, and your show, and Harold, and the club, and the musicians. And it's just an energy builder that is really, really good for all communities. It's very important to have the music go out to the people that can enjoy it and can be a part of it, and that someday can say, well, I knew those guys when, and I still know those guys, because they are good guys.
Community radio here on KXUA Fayetteville. You're listening to Honest Tunes Radio Show, an interview with Martin Fiero. Martin, we wanted to scroll up now and ask about a newer band that you've performed in, although you've been with them for decades now, playing with Steve Kimmock and Zero and various incarnations of that.
Oh yeah, it's we put the band together last year because we wanted to. We had some gigs that we went international. We went to Thailand. So last year we put Zero back together again. Steve wasn't in it yet because he was doing his thing, but we put back together with Donna Jean Gacho and Melvin Seals and an incredible guitar player named Futoshi from Japan, Greg Anton, Liam Handrahan, and myself, and we went and played a huge festival in Koh Samui in Thailand. And there was a lot of really cool people on that. There was Jerry Lee Lewis was on the bill. UB40 was on the bill. There was all kinds of incredible music. It was like an international world type festival. And so, like, we hadn't played together in 6 years, so we had to rehearse really, really hard. And we went. We did really well. And then we came back to San Francisco and did some shows there with that band. It was called 02 because we really couldn't call it Zero because he didn't have Steve, So and he didn't have Chip or any of the other original guys. He didn't have Judge. We called it 02, but regardless of whatever we called it, we still managed to like make a real big splash on the music scene. And when Steve heard that we were playing back together again, he wanted to be a part of it. So he called Greg, and he kind of came back on his own, and it surprised us because we didn't really think that he wanted to do music with us anymore, since he had his own band together and all that kind of good stuff. He was doing well and whatever. And so it was really fun to have him back too. So we Judge came back into the band, and we did a reunion in Denver, Colorado. That was very, very nice. It was very cool. We played a couple of days. We rehearsed 3 days, and then we played 2 days over there, and it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. So then we didn't know that there were going to be any more gigs or what was going to happen with that. So we just let it go. But then a few more festivals came together. We did the Health and Harmony Festival that got booked. That's in Santa Rosa, California. And then we got booked for the High Sierra Music Festival, which was really fun. The Radiators played before we did, and I got to play with them again because I've been playing with them. They're good friends of mine, and so that was a lot of fun, man. Those guys have been playing together for 27 years. It's incredible, And they are so nice, man. They are really good guys, So then we played the Oregon Country Fair not too long ago, and we're going to do the Gathering of the Vibes up in Albany, New York, the 20th of August. And then in January, we're going to go on the Jam Cruise. Those are all Zero things, And they're fun. But in the meantime, I've been keeping busy, sitting in with the Undermountain String Band, with String Cheese Incident, with Railroad Earth, all my different friends that come to town. New Monsoon, they're good, really good people. New Monsoon is a very upcoming band that's really, really wonderful. I played with Tea Leaf Green last week. And I don't do this to put feathers in my cap, so to speak. I mean, I don't really play with all these bands to put feathers on in my cap. I just do it because I love to play with young bands. Even though, like I told you before, Daniel, I've been around for 50 years. It's still fun to play with 20-something-year-old musicians that are playing good, that have good hearts and great minds, and it's wonderful to share their energy. And somehow they all want to hear the stories about Jerry, and because especially like the Yonder Mountain Boys, they never got to know Jerry. So when we started playing together a couple of years ago in San Diego at the Baja Festival, the guitar player Adam, my friend Jim, he says, "Hey, Adam, I want you to meet my friend." So Adam comes over and says, "So sure, who's your friend?" He says, "Adam, I want you to meet Martin Fiero." And Adam looks at me. He says, "You're Martin Fiero?" I said, "Yeah, something wrong?" He says, "You're damn right something's wrong." He says, "You know what, man? I've been listening to you play since I was in my mother's womb." I said, "What? What are you talking about?" He says, "My parents used to be big Legion of Mary fans. They used to come to your gigs. My dad was a taper. He would tape the things, man. And then my mom was pregnant with me, man. And they'd come home and my mom would play the music, and she put her belly right next to the speaker, man. Because, she thought that I should be hearing good music since before I came to this world." He says, "Listen, man, I've been listening to you my whole life. We were listening to you play this morning." He says, "because we have Legion of Mary CDs in the bus." "Really?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Just wait a minute. Just wait right here." So he calls the rest of the guys over. And they all come over, and he said, "Do you guys know who this guy is?" And they said, "No, who is he?" "This is Martin Fiero. We're listening to him this morning, remember?" "You're Martin Fiero?" Like I was supposed to be some kind of ghost or something, man, I said, "Well, yeah." I said, that was 30 years ago. Do the math. He said, "Well, how old are you?" I said, well, at the time I was 62. I said, "Well, I'm 62 years old." "Oh man, what have you been eating? I want to eat what you eat. I want to look like you, play like you do when I'm 62 years old." Because I was there to play with K-Mac, but Yonder Mountain was opening before we did, and so I sat in with the boys, and they introduced me as we like to introduce you to our new found best friend whom we've known all our lives, but we didn't know he was here today. His name is Martin Fiero. Welcome to our stage, Martin. That kind of introduction is really, really beautiful. From those guys, they're at the top of their game, man. They are sweethearts, man, So, and then, of course, after that, we played with K-Mac, and we just kicked some major butt that day at the Baja Bash.
Well, all these great guest appearances that you've had with such a wide variety of bands brings up a question that I wanted to ask you about genres of music. You're up there playing with a newgrass, bluegrass band, Yonder Mountain String Band, and that's a totally different sound than Legion of Mary, and not even something you would expect the saxophone to be in. How do you look at genres of music?
When I was a jazz player, when I was a rock and roll player in the 50s, rhythm and blues, and I played popular music. Some people came from Philadelphia and they showed me how to play jazz. They actually sat me down and had me listen, and they showed me how to do this. And I became a jazz musician for 10 years. But it was the toughest 10 years of my entire life. And so after I played jazz, I almost starved to death. I decided the next time I go somewhere, I'm not going to play jazz. I'm not going to play blues. I'm not going to play rock. I'm just going to play my horn. Whatever is required of me, whatever puts food on my table, that's what I'm going to play. So when I came to San Francisco, I came ready to not have a label on myself, but yet try and tackle everything in a good, positive way. So with Jerry, we had a band called the Great American String Band, and we used to play bluegrass. So that's the first time that I played bluegrass. And then, of course, with the dad, we played. It wasn't blues, and it wasn't rock, and it wasn't jazz. It was just a mixture of everything, because that's what Jerry played. Jerry played Jerry taught me that. He was an all-around musician. His explorations were so complete and so cool that he encompassed everything. That's what I learned from Jerry. From Jerry, I learned how to be a world musician that just can play just about anything, and not be ashamed or afraid to tackle any project and do it with the intention of knowing that you're doing it because the Great Spirit put me on this planet to do this thing that's called just music. Just music. So I can't say that I know how to do this or I can know how to do that. I don't really know how to do anything except just get up on stage and put the horn in my mouth. That's the best. That's about the only thing I know how to do. Everything else, the magic of the moment, will take over my body and do what it has to do. And I can't even take credit for any of the music that I played or that I know how to play. It's just the magic of the moment that has made it happen. It used my body and my musical knowledge of the instrument as a vehicle for the people. It comes back to the people. It comes from the people and it goes back to the people. And it forms a great big circle. So that's about it.
And what about this chinchilla?
My 7-year-old daughter Jessica, she wanted to know if I could grow a beard so she could like make little things with it, and so I said sure. So I grew it for her, and she plays with it.
Cool, Martin Fiero. It's been great to have you here on.
Thank you,
Honest Tunes
Daniel.
Radio
Thank you,
Show.
Daniel. It's wonderful. Thank you. I feel like I've known you forever, man.
Me too, man. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you play some music for us at George's Majestic Lounge tonight, right after the radio show interview's over. How about if we jam out a little bit of Legion of Mary from 1975?
Yeah,
right now?
let's do it, man.
All right, and then coming up in the next hour of programming, I've got recordings of Martin Fiero guesting with many of the bands that we mentioned in the last hour. Thanks for listening to Honest Tunes Radio Show, only on KXUA Fayetteville.